next phase, we are going to discuss about the non-covalent interaction. As I told you previously, there are no such term in the biochemical bonds that is known as the non-covalent bond. There are no such term for the non-covalent bond. The actual term is non-covalent interaction. There are major 4 types of non-covalent interaction, that is ionic interaction, hydrogen interaction, hydrophobic interaction, and van der Waals forces. Now, each of the type we are going to discuss. To understand the non-covalent interaction, we are going to focus the first type of it, that is called the hydrogen interaction. Now, to understand the hydrogen interaction, which is a part or type of non-covalent interaction, the beautiful model is nothing but the water, or we known as the H2O. Here we can see that what happening in the water. The water has 2 hydrogen atom and a central oxygen atom. The oxygen need to saturate its 8 electron in the outer orbit, while each hydrogen in both sides of it need more 1 electron to saturate its first orbit with the 2 count number. So what happened? There must be an electron sharing. Now we are talking about the hydrogen interaction, which is the non-covalent interaction. But first, here also the covalent bond happened. What happened? This is the first electron sharing. So it is a covalent bond, and this is also a covalent bond. So it is look like that these are the 2 bonds. These 2 bonds are both are covalent bond. And now we can understand both are single covalent bond. Now what happened? We know that oxygen is more electronegative than the hydrogen. Oxygen is more electronegative than the hydrogen. So when this or this, in each case, when the hydrogen, this electron rotate around its orbit, sometime what happened, the oxygen actually grab its electron. So as the electron will leave the orbit of the hydrogen and go to the orbit of the oxygen, what happened? So it will be remain as this. This is known as H plus, because it do not have an electron. Electron leave the outer orbit of the hydrogen atom, and it will become this electron will be jump into here, and it will become OH minus. So that's why the water we in an ionized form known as the H plus plus OH minus. Now we can understand for an easy concept in a glass of water molecule. Now here we are taking the model as a 1 water molecule, 1 H2O. So in a glass of water or in a beaker of water, there are a lot of water molecule. So it will be remain as the H plus, OH minus, H plus, OH minus, H plus, OH minus. This type of interaction everywhere. In between OH minus and H plus, H and OH, there is a covalent bond, forget about it. But what happened? This is a water molecule and this is the water molecule. Now what happened? There must be interaction between the opposite charges. H plus of another water molecule is interact with the previous water molecule OH minus. So this is the interaction between them. Okay? This is the interaction between them. What actually happening, that is H plus ion of a water molecule interacting, not bonding, but interacting with the OH minus of another water molecule, or the OH minus ion of a water molecule is interacting with the H plus ion of another water molecule. So this type of interaction between the H plus and OH minus ion between the different water molecule, that are present in a very close proximity is known as the hydrogen interaction, because the hydrogen ion is actually, because this is known as the hydrogen ion. This hydrogen ion or proton or hydrogen ion is actually responsible for such interaction. So this is known as the hydrogen interaction. In the next phase, another type of interaction we are going to discuss, that is called ionic interaction. I am not talking about the ionic bond. There are no such ionic bond. There are ionic interaction. It is a part of non-covalent interaction. So we can say that in each type of bond to understand or interaction to understand, we are taking as a model. So to understand the ionic interaction, we take two models. Number one, sodium chloride or NaCl, and number two, water or H2O. What happened? In solid form, the sodium chloride is in crystalline form, where water in a liquid form. Now what happened? We are taking a bottle or glass, that we take some water or H2 in here, and when we put some amount of sodium chloride in it, sodium chloride, it became dissolved. How it will become dissolved? How it will become interact? That is the part of the ionic interaction. What happened? As in the previous video, we can understand that the H2O or water will immediately split into H plus OH minus ion. So in the water molecule, there are a lot of H plus OH minus, H plus OH minus. When we drop or put some amount of sodium chloride in it, the sodium chloride will be immediately break and form the ionized form, that is NaCl break into ionized form called Na plus and Cl minus. So as it will be break into Na plus and Cl minus, the negatively charged attract toward the positively charged, because the opposite charges are attracting each other while the same charge are repulsing each other. So the negative charge will attract towards the positive charge, and the positive charge will attract towards the negative charge. So what happened? There must be an interaction when the positively charged sodium ion in a close proximity with the OH minus of the water molecule, and the negatively charged chloride ion will interact with the positively charged hydrogen ion of the water molecule. Such interaction between the opposite charge of the two different substances, that is sodium chloride and water, this is known as the ionic interaction. If the same charge and the same substrate will be attract, such as water, there are a lot of water molecule, H plus attract towards the OH minus attract towards the H plus, it will be known as the hydrogen interaction between, because the hydrogen atoms are responsible for this interaction. But here we can see that the sodium is a different ionic compound, and H plus OH minus chloride, these are the different ionic compound. Here the sodium interacting with the OH minus, while the chloride interacting with the H plus. Such kind of interaction is known as the ionic interaction. But such interaction is only possible when the two different substances with both have the dipole charge. Here you can say the dipole. This is the one pole, this is another pole. This is the one pole, this is another pole. This is called the dipole. The two dipole substances, when interacting, only in that condition the ionic interaction can be formed. Now the important thing, in a crystalline or solid form, why sodium chloride do not split into Na plus or Cl minus? That is because of the lattice energy. It is a very important term, lattice energy. Actually, this is consisting in energy. That energy is responsible to make them closer and help them not to split into ionized form. But when we put some sodium chloride into a water, then the lattice energy became immediately reduced and the NaCl will immediately split into Na plus and Cl minus, and water also split into the H plus and OH minus. Now the opposite charge of the opposite substance are interacting with each other, such as as I told you, the Na plus with H plus and Cl minus with OH minus. Such kind of interaction is known as the ionic interaction. Van der Waals forces is another type of non-covalent interaction. It is a very beautiful type of force or interaction in the non-covalent interaction. What happened? Proton is present in the nucleus of an atom and electron are rotating around the proton through its orbit. But what happened? In some time, think about it, that all the electron of this A atom are became this left side, and at the same time all the electron of the B atom, which is a very close proximity with the A atom, are also in the left side. So these are the positively charged and these are the negatively charged. So there must be an interaction, a very fine interaction. So proton of one atom is interacting, very minute interaction with the electron of another outer orbit atom. Such interaction is known as the van der Waals interaction. But you can understand that proton will never stay so many times in such area. They will be immediately returned to its right side and they also immediately go to the right side. So the interaction will be immediately break. So in the rotating condition, in a particular time or in a luck by chance time, when the all electron of the two atom are in the same position, then the proton of another atom is interacting with the electron of the outer orbit electron of another atom, and that is called the van der Waals forces. So van der Waals forces, it never a stable force, it will be formed and immediately break down. So it is a theoretical forces. Also there are some practical approaches of the van der Waals forces, but it should be very important to remember that the van der Waals force are never ever stable interaction, because the electron is continuously rotating and electron rotating in a very fast motion. So van der Waals force form and immediately break down, then luck by chance another time form and then immediately break down. That is all about the van der Waals forces. Now the last important type of non-covalent interaction, we called it hydrophobic interaction. Hydrophobic means phobia or phobicity to water. We can see that if we take a beaker or glass or boil and we put some volume of water and then we add a drop of lipid molecule, or oil, we can see that the two lipid molecule will came to close proximity and they will join into a larger lipid molecule, because the leaflet of the lipid molecule are push each other to join to reduce the surface area towards the water. That kind of interaction is known as the hydrophobic interaction. So this is all about our bonds, biochemical bonds and in interaction. We understand that the biochemical bonds are in two types, that is the covalent bond and non-covalent interaction. Under the covalent bond there are three type of interaction or three type of bond: single bond, double bond and triple bond. The covalent bond is responsible for the electron sharing. If one electron share, known as single bond, 2 electrons share double bond or 3 electrons share triple bond. Under the non-covalent interaction, there are hydrogen interaction. Example is a water molecule where the hydrogen atoms or hydrogen ion are interacting with the OH minus. Then the van der Waals forces. Here we can see that the proton is interacting with the outermost electron of another atom, and a hydrophobic interaction. The lipid molecule in the water, how we interact, they call hydrophobic interaction, and the ionic interaction we know see in the sodium chloride and water example. Thank you.